Yo, 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 yo. What's up? Welcome to the Be Yourself, Do It Yourself podcast. This is episode number 6, and today's a special one. I'm here with my mom, Kelly Chiarella. Um, yeah, my mom asked me a couple weeks ago if she could be on the podcast. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, I planned on it. It was already a planned guest at some point.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I planned on it. I plan on having Dad too. At some point, we'll definitely do that up. But yeah. So I got my mom on the podcast. We're gonna talk about who knows what because we didn't plan anything. We're just gonna have a conversation. If you are watching live, feel free to say hello in the chat. Appreciate you being here. If you are listening to this afterwards on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube or wherever you're listening to this, please feel free to subscribe to the podcast. I'm doing it every week, and we're talking about just authenticity and cool conversations with cool people.
I think I'm glad that you think I'm cool and that this is not uncool to have your mom on your show. So.
No, not at all.
Oh,
Talk
yeah.
a little bit more into the mic, though.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get your volume up a little bit before we jump into it.
Okay. Sorry, I move a lot.
No, it's all good. So you see the meter right there on the screen?
Yes.
See how when I talk, it's like in the yellow to red?
Yes.
When you talk, go.
Hi.
See, you're a little bit lower than me.
Got it.
And it's just because I'm more on top of the microphone.
Got it.
Essentially. But I'll see if I could just jack you up a little bit. But anyway. Yeah. Let's hop into it. I'm gonna throw the intro on real quick. You can see my cool intro to the podcast. I don't know if you've seen this yet. Yeah. Yeah, could you Oh yeah. Can you tilt the mic just a little bit towards your mouth?
Sure thing.
Just want to make sure we get the audio good before we have a whole hour-long conversation, you know?
Okay.
But yeah, so that intro actually you couldn't hear it because the TV's volume is all the way down. But it has I did like a punk. Me and him did like a punk version of a DMX song.
Oh, awesome. Well, I like that. I was at a lot of those shows. Right, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I like those pictures.
All right, so let's do it. Let's have a talk.
AJK's got the Streetlight Manifesto shirt on over there.
Yeah.
Love it.
He's off frame, but AJ's here. He's
I
in the house.
never got to see them.
Thanks, dude.
Hopefully live music comes back someday so I could see Streetlight Manifesto.
Yeah, my mom loves Streetlight, dude. That's a big one for her. AJ opened up for Streetlight Manifesto once.
That's awesome.
At Stony Brook. All right, so
Hi, hun.
hi, Mom. Let's take it back. All right, so how I've been starting these with a lot of people is I've kind of like started with their origins and things. So let's take it back to your origin. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
Do that whole little spiel. You know, make it short, like a summarized version.
Yonkers 914. Born and bred.
Year.
Actually, I think our family goes back to the 1800s in Yonkers.
Yeah.
So, we've been here for forever. My mom also was born and bred in Yonkers. My father as well. And then, my mom actually worked in the carpet factories on Nepperhan Avenue, and she grew up on Moquette Row, which is, down there next to the carpet factories.
Mm-hmm.
And then, moved away, was all over the place, grew up, blah, blah, blah. She was, whatever. And then we came back when she got married. We started on Orchard Street, and then she went to Moquette Row, and that's where I grew up, on the same street that she had lived on previously.
Yeah, and I got to be there. I mean, she lived there when I was a kid still. We
Right.
got to hang out there. We hung out there a lot.
They had that daycare in the basement
Yeah.
where we used to watch you guys.
Yep, right. And then we hung out in that little like backyard area, which was just like a square behind the...
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
But that was moving up for me because we went from an apartment to like a 3-level house with a backyard. So
Yeah.
it was big.
Yeah, and you guys had dogs growing up. I know it was a big dog thing. I don't think Grandma had dogs when we were younger, but I know like you always talk about the like legendary dogs.
Yeah. Well, we had a couple of really good dogs, but I think you've probably heard the story about the cat that Grandma ditched on me more than
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a cat that kind of went crazy, and I wasn't around to take care of it. So Grandma and I think Aunt Liza took it for a ride, but it tried to come back.
Was that the cat that's name was Cat?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
She's never going to live that down. There's a picture of the cat in her new place.
Yeah.
I don't know why the cat's on the wall if she got rid of it on me.
Oh God. Okay, that's awesome. So, all right. So you grew up Yonkers, Moquette Row. Didn't Grandpa work in the? He worked in the carpet factories.
He worked in Polychrome, which was a factory now where Avalon is. You know where the Avalon is at the end of Ashburton Avenue down on the river?
Yeah.
That at one point was a factory called Polychrome, and then it turned into Department of Social Services, and now it's turning into, these luxury rentals.
Oh.
So that's where he worked, and then he worked at like a whole bunch of odd jobs. Mom worked at a whole bunch of different places, but my dad worked at Levine's Liquors on Ashburton Avenue for a while, and lots of different odd jobs.
Were they working a lot when you were growing up? When you and Uncle Keith were like growing up together, were they like constantly working, or how did that work? Did they have like day job? Was it like a day job thing, or was it like?
My mom had all different kinds of jobs. She worked a switchboard. She sold toys. She worked for. She ran a nonprofit. She grew similar to the way that I've grown. She went from doing like being a guard to being a like a caseworker in Edenwald Children's Center to to a little bit of supervisor, and then she went all the way from being a night guard to the director of JCCA of Edenwald.
Yeah.
So, but she worked so many jobs that she was all over the place, and a lot of them were nights. And there was no 9 to 5.
Yeah.
There was no 9 to 5. And then my dad too. He worked the day job at Polychrome, but then he also worked some night jobs as well. So Keith and I were, my brother and I were responsible for the laundry. We were responsible for the kitchen. We had to take turns cleaning different things in the house.
Yeah.
He was better at that than I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you say that Grandma had a lot of jobs, but I feel like growing up, you told me that you also had a lot of jobs and that you worked everywhere. So I guess you kind of took after her.
Yeah.
When did you start working? I
Well,
don't think I know what age you started working.
Probably like 13, 14. I was a candy striper, which is a volunteer in St. John's Hospital. Grandma, basically, I was getting into trouble, and she was like, "You're not going to get into trouble. My kid's not going to be on the streets," and blah, blah, blah. And, I was punished. I would be bad. I would get caught, and then she would punish me, and she would just, guide me. She guided me to volunteer work in different places and made me do things. So I was a volunteer at St. John's Hospital for a while, and then I started cleaning a couple of houses here and there for some older women and families. And then when I was legal to start really working, then I started getting my own odd jobs.
Got you. So okay, that's cool. So when you were a kid, obviously, so Grandma like kind of you said she kind of brought you to like go do these jobs, but you guys didn't get along very well.
My mom and I?
Not as a kid, right? Or not as a teenager. There was like a point where it was a little rough. There's a rough patch.
Yeah, there's a rough patch, but it's kind of like this is the way I felt. I felt like I misbehaved. I knew what the ramifications were going to be.
Right.
And I had to accept them when they happened. Was I happy when they happened? No, of course not. There was a lot of stuff there. But, I was rebellious, and she was keeping me in line. And if it wasn't for her, I would have never made it out of high school. If it wasn't for her, there wouldn't have been food on the table. If it wasn't for her, a million different things.
No, yeah, no, I figured it was more of a rebellious teenager kind of not get like rough patch is kind of what I meant.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a lot of stuff that happened there growing up, but I always knew that I had two parents that loved me and that they took care of us. We always had a roof over our head. We had food on the table, and I would say it to my friends all the time. I was smoking cigarettes. I got caught. Now I'm punished. I got
Wait,
caught.
tell the punishment for that though, because I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, she pulled me out of a skating rink by my hair and took me home and made me eat a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, I remember
And I
that
don't
story.
smoke.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that story. That sounds gross.
Yeah, it was. It was. It was really dry.
It's like eating it's like the time I made you and Nick eat the cinnamon.
But right, I know that cinnamon
Which-
challenge was horrific.
It's like,
Who knew?
it's like tobacco leaves and cinnamon. I just okay. Val just sent me a thing about TikTok.
Oh, cool.
So okay, cool. Nice. All right. So you went to high school at Sacred Heart
Yes.
in Yonkers.
No, I went to Sacred Heart,
And then you went to Gorton.
and then I went to Gorton. High
Right,
School.
right.
Yeah.
Dad went to Sacred Heart.
We both went to Sacred Heart grade school
Yeah.
until stuff happened with the family. We really couldn't afford it anymore. And
Yeah.
then we both went to Emerson, and then I went to Gorton. He went to Saunders.
Yeah. All right. So you went to Gorton, and then you won most popular.
I was
And-
most popular. I was like in all these clubs that I really didn't do anything for.
The homecoming queen, right?
I'm on every single page of the yearbook. It's ridiculous.
You just wanted the attention. You were like, did you want to actively be the person that was on every single page of the yearbook? Like,
I just was
that
like-
like the goal?
I was like a people person, and people were like, "Cal, come on, get in the picture," And,
Yeah.
But I was on some of the committees, like I was on the yearbook committee, but I really wasn't very responsible back then, and I was just a people person, and kind of I hate to sound like I'm bragging, but I was likable, so people.
It's not bragging.
It's
true.
Yeah, so I was likable, and so yeah, I became homecoming queen, and I was voted most popular. But I don't really know how all that happened. I just like people.
Yeah. No, I got you. All right. So you get out of high school. Was there ever any? I mean, I know you didn't go to college, but was there ever any like idea that you were going to?
No.
It was like not even on the table, right?
It really wasn't. I mean, I was already working. I was already making money. Back then, things were a little bit different. Not that my friends were all going to college, so I won't say that college wasn't, but it wasn't just this major thing that you had to do or else you weren't going to get anywhere. You know, I knew that my mother made money by going to work. My father made money by going to work. I was already working, and I really I wasn't a good student to begin with. And it was kind of like they weren't going to waste their money on me. And
Right.
I wanted to just go out into the world and start making money. And I was still being very, very rebellious. I was kind of out of control by the time I was 18. So
Yeah. So okay. So let's talk about that a little bit. So when you say out of control, like where was your head with out of control?
So just for the audience, this is not something that we've ever really discussed.
No, it's not.
It's just something
it's
that's
not.
known, kind of.
Weird flex, but okay. Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah. So yeah, so I had started drinking, probably about 13 years old in the house.
Yeah.
And then I would drink, like in the parks with people, or every opportunity I could, I would go find an opportunity to drink. Even walking home from candy striping, I would walk through certain parks so that I could meet up with different groups of people that were hanging out in the parks or on the stairs or on the rock so that I could go drink. And then again, when my mother caught me, I would be punished. I'd be on hold for a little while. And then that was that. But she always kind of said, when you're 18, you're on your own. So when I was 18, I went off to the races because I was kind of allowed to. And at that time, 18 years old was legal to drink.
Did you move? You didn't move out at 18.
I did not move out. No, my poor mother.
So they just dealt with it.
Yeah.
So did you start bartending at was
So I worked when I was in high school, and everything's kind of fuzzy with time, but I worked at Gimbel's, I worked at Alexander's, I worked at Bon Voyage Luggage, I worked cleaning houses, I worked at Toys R Us. I worked at all these different places, and then I would get fired from them because I either wasn't showing up or I would do something wrong.
Right.
Because I was being so irresponsible. And then I landed a job at something called the Computer Factory. It was like franchise of a whole bunch of computer stores back then, and I worked in the corporate office, and I was there for a little while, but again, I wasn't showing up to work, or I was sleeping in my car, or I was showing up to work late and still messed up from the night before. I was spending a lot of time in the bathroom sick. And I was at the front desk. So
So it didn't work. The job, obviously, they
The
knew.
job
They knew.
I do remember that boss, though, being one of the people that really tried to set me straight and talk me into reality and try to help. But I wasn't having it. I just kind of thought that I was a party girl and I was young and I was having fun and
You didn't see anything as a problem. You saw it more
Well,
as like a.
I knew that I wasn't the same as all my other friends who would go home at the end of the night, or they were keeping jobs, or they weren't getting in trouble, and I was getting into all kinds of trouble. So I knew I wasn't like them, but I also, my dad was a big drinker, so I kind of looked at him and I was like, well, I'm not like him. And everybody's partying. It was the '80s, so I just kind of thought that I was young and I was going to outgrow it. A little while later, I would just think that I was going to meet the right guy and settle down when I was ready and when I found it. But
Which kind of happened.
sort of.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, from 13 to 25.
25.
Yeah, you were drinking heavily.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was there a moment, or was there any times in there where you're like, man, I need to figure this out? Or like before 25? Was there like a big time at 25 where you're like, now I need to figure this out? Or was there 20, 21, 22 where you're like, oh, maybe I need to figure this out?
Yeah, no, there was a lot of times. I remember toasting, 18, 19 years old, toasting, AA, here I come, because I was joking about it. But I knew that once I had the first drink, that all bets were off. I might not go to work. I might spend the rent money. I might, I might do something that might embarrass myself. I might get into some sort of trouble. I might land in a hospital, because I do something stupid. There was just a whole lot of stuff, and I did equate it all to my drinking. But again, I just kept thinking that I was going to outgrow it.
Yeah.
And 23, 24, 25, when everybody else is getting apartments and out of college and I still wasn't, it started to become more obvious.
Gotcha. Okay. So what was it? What would you say at 25 was it that was like the real? Was that it? Was it just that you saw all the people around you were like doing their thing and you were like, well, now it's time for me to do my thing. I really need to like figure this out, or?
Well, I had realized a long time before that I would try to stop drinking and I couldn't. Like I would try to stop just for a little while to make my mom happy, or to maybe keep a job, or maybe keep a relationship, or just during Lent, I'm just going to quit during Lent, or I'm only going to drink beer for a while. I'm not going to drink anything heavier. And all of those diets just didn't really work. I wasn't able to stay away. So I did identify all of that. And then when I was 25, it wasn't really anything big. It was, another day that I had gotten drunk and I was just like, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to go and I'm going to try and find a meeting. And I think it was probably to save a relationship. And then I went to the meeting, but I didn't really pay attention. I sat in the back. I didn't follow the rules. I was very nervous. And so that one didn't last very long. And then a couple months later, so that was August of 1991, and then in November of 1991 is when I had gotten drunk again, and again I was sick of the way I was behaving, and I was embarrassed about the way I behaved, and that was the last time for me.
Word. Yeah.
I woke up the next day, and I was going to go apologize to my boss because I had made a fool out of myself, and a whole lot of people had to take care of me that night, and instead, other people had plans for me to go to get some help. So I took their suggestions just because they had gone through so much with me the night before. And I'm glad I did.
Good.
Because it's 28 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen you drink in my life, and I'm 27.
Right.
Yeah.
You and your brother have never seen me drink.
Never. So okay, so from there you went to get help, and it was like a go away, stay at some kind of facility type deal, right?
Yeah, I did detox for a week, and then they couldn't get me into a rehab right away, so I did meetings for a while, and that's when I met my sponsor, and I got my home group and all of that, and then I went into rehab right before Christmas of that year of 1991. Came out a little bit after my birthday, and then I did a outpatient program there for after that for like another 9 months, and then after that I went into some deep therapy because I was pretty damaged, and I had the ability at that point because I couldn't bartend anymore and I couldn't live in the place that I was living anymore, and I had no money, and so I had the opportunity then just to work on myself, and I took it.
That's awesome. And did you like through that process where you're like, yeah, I'm never going back? Was it like like I don't know, like because I feel like there's probably times like you said there was times before that where you were like, oh, I'm gonna try to quit, oh, I'm gonna take these diets, I'm gonna quit. But was this like the time you're like, yeah, I'm not going back to that? Like
Yeah.
it's not happening. I'm not.
Yeah, when I first came in, it's a lot of people do go back and they slip or they whatever. But for me, I was really, really, really desperate to not do that anymore and to not be that person anymore. And I saw that, with a little bit of time, I saw that I could be a better person and that these meetings could help me and that it was pretty simple if I just follow the suggestions, that it's pretty simple and I could be this better person and start to live my life. Um, so for me, I was desperate. I was just really desperate.
Right.
And so I just stayed in and I did everything everybody told me to do. And yeah.
Good. Nice. Yeah, I don't think we ever did go like into that. But I mean, to say I didn't know at least some of your stories, I grew up going to the meetings with you.
Right.
I like your well when I was younger, I guess when you would have it was at first we'd go to the Hastings Church Reach.
Right.
And then that was like the second family, and I remember like a lot. I remember a lot of weird, like I remember like little things. Like I remember the guy. I remember I learned guitar lessons from the one.
Be careful about what you remember.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
an
yeah.
anonymous program.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna talk about anything like that. But I remember like the guy I learned guitar from, and I remember specifically one guy who had 2 sleeves of tattoos, and I was like I really liked them. I remember like looking every time I would go, he would show me his arms, and I would go through and look at his tattoos.
Right.
But I remember like little details like that. I don't remember. I didn't care to listen to the stories as much, I guess, because I was so young. I didn't really, But then they moved to our house. Like then a lot of the guys ended up coming to our house for a while.
Right.
And then you did the meetings in the living room.
And that's because basically you were still young. Nikki had just been born. My sponsor had MS, so it was kind of easier for her to be in a house than to be traveling around into other places and try to get into other places. And your dad worked nights, so it was just easier to do it here. I just talked about this the other night. I actually just spoke for Reach the other night on a Zoom, which was kind of cool. But and a lot of those same people were on the Zoom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's all good. But yeah, I mean, it was convenient for some of us because it was at a good time for some of us. I had you guys. It was just easier for my lifestyle. But when my sponsor passed away and those meetings fell apart, I wasn't really as connected to the larger groups as I wanted to be. And so I never ever left those larger groups, but I wasn't really as active as I should have been for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful that I am now and I'm back in.
Yeah, I mean it was so normal. Like I don't know, it's just like that's what it was. Like I didn't think about it. Like as a kid, you don't really think about it. It was just like this was just new. I didn't really know much about it, but I understood like the bare bones of what was happening.
Well, I used to always tell you and your brother, but mostly you, I think. Just be careful, It could be a family disease, my father, my grandparents, my uncles, my this, if that's a proven thing, you hear that a lot, that it's a family disease. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of that so that when you start, if you see the red flags, that you don't stop when you have a drink, then I needed you to know that there's another way out.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of funny because I guess you obviously you say like it could be like a family disease, and it could be. I don't know if you don't know if that's proven. Like that's not, is that proven?
I don't know. I mean,
Because I was gonna say, what I was gonna say was that I think that your surroundings probably more so, right? Like
right,
what you grow up with and like
right, what you watch.
what you watch and what you see. And for both Nick and I, we
Right.
had you and we had Dad who didn't
Right.
drink.
Right.
You know, and not that he never drank, but I never saw him drunk,
Right,
like ever.
right.
I don't think I still to this day have ever seen him drunk.
Mm.
So I didn't drink until I was 21, and I didn't even drink on my 21st birthday. Remember, we had my 21st birthday in the house. I didn't.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I didn't even drink. I didn't drink until I was 21, and even at that, like now I don't like getting drunk.
Yeah.
And then you have Nick too. I mean, he's not interested.
Yeah.
He's 20, but you know, he's just not interested in it. So I think it could be definitely a surroundings thing in a way too, because what we were surrounded by growing up wasn't.
Yeah.
It was never around.
Right. You kind of saw that you can live and you can vacation and you could have fun and you could have parties without it. You know, so it was normal for you to grow up without it. And so, you're right. It could be a surroundings thing.
Yeah, and yeah. Yeah, and
It's kind of like people who abuse or have grown up with abuse sometimes become abusers.
but they also saw it or
right.
endured it, you know.
Right.
And that, yeah, because I think that definitely plays into it. Because even you look at, I mean, probably normal families or whatever, you know, like you see your parents drink, right? Like, and you see them like when you're out at dinner and everything, that's a normalized thing. But that wasn't really ever the case,
Right.
for us.
Right.
It just never was a thing. So I didn't even like care to, like, I had no interest in it
I know.
until, I don't know, like July 4th one year, and I was just like, oh, yeah, and I had 3 beers or something, you know, and I was like, oh, okay, this isn't, I think I was scared of it, and I was like scared of like what it could do in a lot of ways, and I think I still am to a degree.
Well, you do have this type A personality that, you know, goes. You're driven.
Yeah.
I would be careful.
Yeah,
You
no,
know what I mean?
no. I mean, I am. I don't. Luckily, it makes me sick usually if I drink too much, and I hate that because then I
Good.
can't go the next
Right.
day. So I always forget to drink water, so it's never, it never. I'm always like, oh, I hated doing that. Okay, cool. So all right,
So I hope you find that as a benefit.
I do. No, yeah, I 100% do, because I'm way more even now. You know, 27. I like drinking beer, but I like having like 2.
Right.
You know, like, and then that's it. Right. I'm like, okay, cool. That tasted good. I feel like you don't feel it, but you're like, okay, I feel like I drank 2 beers,
Right.
but I'm very still in control of myself, and I'm not gonna be sick tomorrow. Like, tomorrow will still be a normal day.
So, you know, I talking about AA before we move on, or just even 12-step programs in general, they've offered us this framework of how to live. You know, they give you all of these different tools, and you've also grown up with the benefit of those tools.
Yeah.
You know, subtly sometimes, but you've definitely had the benefit of keep it simple, one day at a time, easy does it, first things first. All of those different tools, you know, whether you know it or not, they're there.
No, I'd agree.
Yeah.
I remember the big shake at the end of every meeting. It's worth it. You're worth it.
Serenity
You
prayer.
work it. You know,
Right.
you're worth it. You work it, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But with the Serenity Prayer, which is an amazing.
Dad's heckling us in the chat.
I see that.
But no, yeah, I agree with that. And it is a benefit. I'm super grateful for it. All right, so moving past there, so 25, you're now sober.
Mm-hmm.
What I guess there was a solid year in there before I came along.
Right.
So what was that year like? Were you working? Did you get pick up a job? Did you?
No. So I got pregnant with you actually while I was still working on myself. And I was really busy working on myself when you came along. Dad and I obviously got married, and then I started watching kids.
I remember that.
Yeah, I started watching kids when you were a baby because that was the easiest thing, so I could be with you. Yeah. So the first couple of years were really just solidly making sure that I had a solid foundation while I was taking care of you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So okay, so the first couple of years, I remember growing up, you watched the kids. And then not long after that, is that what made you decide ultimately to go to the schools? Is it that you liked working with kids? Was that it, or was it just like a job opportunity?
It was both. It was both. I definitely liked working with the kids. I saw myself doing that, and I had an opportunity at School 27 to go there and work as an aide. And once I got in there, it was good hours because it was going to be on the same hours as you going to school. And then once I got in there and I liked the school, that's when I got you in there, and that was our journey in School 27,
Yeah.
Montessori School 27.
Yeah, no, it was cool. Growing up, I had you in the school. So, I mean, there was definitely advantages to that. I think it also probably scared me from doing anything too crazy because I thought I didn't want to get in trouble because I knew that was right. Like, it wasn't like the every other kid who, like, could do something bad and their mom didn't find out about it because the teacher's not going to call every mom. It was like, if I did something bad, well, my mom's upstairs or my mom's down the hallway. Like, there's no getting away with that.
Yeah, but I wasn't so scary. Was I scary?
No, you weren't scary. No, you weren't scary. But I think everyone's scared of their mom to some degree. They're supposed to be. You're supposed to be like, you don't want to get in trouble.
Right.
And I do remember like specific. I remember one time. I don't remember what I said to you. It was probably not good. But I do. Oh, I definitely remember getting soap a couple times. But I do remember one time you told me to leave, and then I sat on the front porch for like 2 hours, or maybe probably not 2 hours, probably like 20 minutes. But to 8-year-old you, it seems like for a lifetime because I didn't have anywhere to go. As I just sat on the front porch, and then eventually you were like, all right, come back in.
Yeah.
Definitely those experiences, like you learn a lesson. You're like, oh, I'm never gonna say that again.
It's funny because I was just telling Val about the same exact thing, not about you leaving, but when I was about that age, I was reading Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, and I had a conversation with my mother about how they had this great life on a raft, and I want to run away, and I don't want to be here anymore. And my mother said, "Get out." She was like, "You're ungrateful. Get out." And I was like, "What do you mean? Where am I going to go?" And I said, "Okay, I'll go pack a bag." "You're not packing a bag. You didn't come in here with a bag." She kicked me out. And I went to the stairs on the top of my hill and sat there for forever. And you're right. It seemed like a very long time.
It was probably 20 minutes.
But it was one of those lessons that you're like, okay, now I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful for parents and food. And
yeah, you get a little bit of a reality check.
Yeah.
And I remember it to this day. Like, I remember sitting on the front porch being like, whoa, crying and being like, am I going to be allowed to go back inside soon?
Sorry for that experience, but hopefully you give it to your kids.
Yeah, I'm gonna if I have a kid, I'm kicking them out of the house at some point. Can't wait till they say the stupid thing. I'm like, get out of here. Nope. Go sit on the porch. Or not even tell them to go, just get out, right? That was the gist.
Yep.
So okay, so growing up you were always in the school, and you became like you were a teacher's assistant, but then you became like super involved in the PTA and just like the students and the teachers, like what was happening there, like
Right.
the fairness of like what students should be getting, what teachers should deserve, like
Right.
you became really involved and you kind of became like a go-to person in the building, I feel like, for parents and
lots of
for
things.
parents and teachers. And even though you were like an assistant, which in a lot of eyes it's like you were almost like the bottom of the barrel, you were really like you became one of the most important people in the school for in a lot of ways.
Right, absolutely. So, I was part of the PTA. I was involved in your classroom. I was becoming an advocate, and we'll get into that in a minute, I guess. But I was also the person in the building that was still comfortable with technology. So I was fixing everybody's computers when we got them and hooking up the smart boards when we got them.
I remember those iMacs. They had the
those
clear
bubble iMacs. Yeah.
That was before Mac was like Apple was really a brand. Even
Right.
like that was like early.
And then we would have these, teacher professional development days, and they would have nothing for the aides aides to do. So I was in charge a lot of times of doing the professional development for the aides, and I would teach them things on the computers that they could do with their classroom or just the basics so they would get comfortable with it themselves. I was doing, as you know, a lot with the PTA with, international nights and fashion shows and the Halloween parade. I was the DJ for everything, and muffins with mom and donuts with dad. All those things. I did all of that stuff. I put a lot of work into that.
Yeah.
I obviously put a lot of work into that, and a lot of people would say, "Why? Why would you spend so much of your time
Yeah.
for free?"
For free.
Right. But I guess I started from such a low, low, low place. Like before I had you and before I'd gotten sober, I didn't have any value in my life. And when you want self esteem, you have to do esteemable things. And
Yeah.
so that's what I did. These things made me feel good about me. People were coming to me. I had some value because I was able to do certain things. And, come to find out, I'm pretty good at organizing large things, large events, so I liked doing them. It was a lot of work. It took away from here, the house, quite a bit, which, I'd rather be out running a large event with hundreds of people than doing something here at the house like cleaning or cooking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, I mean that's awesome. So yeah, I mean, I remember the every like event that happened there. You then like it would be like you get out of school and then there would be like something else to do. Like there was always something else to do, right? There's always like, oh, I gotta go to this meeting, or we gotta do this thing, or we gotta have a rally with signs for the teachers.
right.
Um,
Yeah, I ran a lot of that. So what happened was, Yonkers was going through all these budget cuts. We had lost gym, arts, music, sports, all of the social workers. We were losing all of these different things.
right.
And one time, one of the mayors came into School 27 to talk to us about it, and he was not nice about it. He was extremely arrogant about it. And I just thought to myself, no, you can't just take away all of these things. I needed to understand why that was happening. And so I became involved in that advocacy piece and started to become a person that would, tell the other parents about it. I felt like if lots of people understood the why, then we could fight and fix it. So that's where I started there.
Yeah, and then you worked your way up because you were the PTA president for the school.
Mm-hmm.
And then was it the title PTA president also for the city?
Yes. Council president.
Council president. So which is just essentially you were in charge of all the PTAs in all 40 schools.
Right.
So they all kind of came to you. Like anybody that had a PTA thing,
Right.
you were the go-to person.
And so the interesting part about that one, every single PTA is a not-for-profit business. It's a 501c3
And that you mean for each school or for
for each school.
Okay.
Every single one. So you don't join the PTA thinking that you have to, do taxes and create a budget and keep your agendas and write minutes. You don't know about the business that you have to do to be a 501c3. And so when I became council president, I got to train all of the PTAs on how to run their 501c3s. So you jump ahead to where I am now on managing budgets and grants and people and agendas and minutes and marketing and all of that stuff. That became like a basis of, learning to do what I do now.
Yeah, no, that totally that makes sense. The skills kind of just transfer over, and it's all I think it's all leadership too, and I feel like if you're like a pretty dedicated leader, you'll figure out whatever it is you have to do to make the thing happen.
That's true.
Whatever the thing is, like
whatever it is, you can
you figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, you then moved from city to statewide, and what
county? I did Westchester East Putnam region director. I
Oh.
did that for a while.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yep. So then that was kind of interesting because Yonkers has the Board of Ed, as you know, and we don't vote on our budget, but the rest of the cities and towns around us all vote on their budgets, and they have like a choice of whether they're going to cut these things or they're going to raise their taxes this much. And Yonkers doesn't have that ability. So I was able to educate them about why things happen in Yonkers and vice versa. And it was pretty interesting times.
Cool. Nice. Awesome. Yeah, Yeah, because then you went there and you went statewide.
Right. Then I went to statewide, state resolution specialist. So again, on the advocacy line, I stayed. So at the state level, when you talk about PTAs as an advocacy organization, if someone comes to the convention floor with a resolution, and those resolutions have a process that I won't bore anybody with, but the whole of the PTA is represented at the convention, and then that resolution can become part of legislation because we can vote on it there, and then thousands of PTA members agree with this thing that you've written, this resolution that you've written, and then you take that resolution that we voted on to the legislators and say, X amount of PTA people believe that we need to do something about standardized testing or about drugs or about, whatever it is.
Right.
And so that's how you advocate because you now have a larger number. If you could bring that to the federal level of PTA, if it's something about agriculture or something even more broad, then yeah, you get an even larger number. Or if you take that resolution and it matches something that the teachers are working on, then you've got more numbers. You've got those volumes and volumes of people that believe that this has to be changed, and that's how advocacy works.
What do you think is like the biggest change that happened while you were kind of in charge of things, like, or some of it? Maybe I think, if there like some like big change that comes to mind that like you advocated for that like got pushed through.
We worked a lot on standardized testing, and just the standardized testing that was like high stakes, sort of. It had high stakes for the teachers. It had a lot more pressure for the students. That's when you started to see a lot more anxiety coming out because teachers were feeling the pressure of having to get you guys to pass these tests, and it hasn't really changed. But we did a lot of work around that, and then the governor had instilled a tax cap that we worked against. Now, as I'm not PTA anymore, I actually have a little bit of, I don't dislike the tax cap as much as I did back then. Back then, it was just, we thought that all of the other cities and counties were going to become like Yonkers because they wouldn't have that ability to vote as much as they wanted to, raise their taxes if they wanted to pay for their sports. They had to have they were going to have a cap. And so we thought that they weren't going to have as much, but it had some value.
Yeah, I see where it's at. But yeah, you're right. Standardized testing, it's still the same old thing. I mean, they canceled it this past school year, which is kind of awesome. I was having this conversation kind of recently, actually, how just like school it just seems like it's been done the same way for so long, and it doesn't really make sense to do it this way anymore. And it's kind of interesting that, I don't know, in a way I was kind of hoping that this like whole situation that we were forced into, where everyone had to learn from home, would kind of like change things up. Like we're not taking the standardized tests this year. Like change things up in the sense that like, I think that there's like a real limit for kids in the sense that like you have to take a certain amount of tests and a certain amount of things to like get to the end of high school, right? Like you have to take these certain Regents exams. You have to take, and it's all really just about memorizing information for a test.
Right.
And it's not really about like learning something that you're gonna like value or use or like, where like I think that they could. I mean, we can go on forever about how they're cutting art programs and music programs, and like
Right.
I have a strong stance on that, but
Of course.
I just think that in general, standardized testing just it's all about a test and numbers and money, and it's not about like individual students and how to help them not even like get out of high school and like be a human. Like get out of high school and cool, now like you can figure out life, because honestly like even college at this point, it's for a lot of people it's a waste of time and money.
Yeah, once you get onto the job, you're going to have to learn that entire job anyway. They're not going to teach you the reporting mechanisms that I have to use, or how to do the work that no matter what job, you have to learn on the job.
Exactly. And no matter where you're working, like it's kind of like, it's also just based off like, I don't know, even in both high school and college, I had to take so many classes that did nothing for me. Like do nothing for you at all. Like, but you have to take them because there's some part of some requirement, instead of being maybe able to take something that like actually might benefit you.
Right.
You know, like say, instead of me taking chemistry in 10th grade, like what if they gave me an extra music class? Like that could
Right.
have been a lot better for me as an individual, you know, or like
I
uh
get a lot of staff that come in and don't know how to use Word or
yeah,
PowerPoint or micro or Excel.
or money management. No one
Right.
teaches that. Like
Right.
why do we need to learn the Pythagorean theorem? Like if you're going to be a mathematician, cool. Maybe
Mm.
you need that.
Hmm.
If you're not, I think math-wise, you might need to learn how to do your taxes
Yeah.
like more like realistically in the real
Right.
world cuz I all that other stuff you're just memorizing a thing to take a test.
Right.
And like I don't, it's just like an old school mentality of like what
Mm-hmm.
education should be when it's like and especially I think now in this world where like there's a lot of opportunity for people, um just with like anyone can pretty much do anything now with the internet, right?
Mm.
Like we live in this digital age where everybody's attention is here, and like why, you know, we live in a world where like people are like, well, kids don't have to remember anything anymore because Google exists,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's like, yeah, that's reality now. So like
Mm-hmm.
let's move into 2020 reality where like I don't need to learn which order the planets are in because I can look it up on my phone in 30 seconds and find it out if I ever for some reason need that information. Like
Mm-hmm.
can we move into the reality of like
Right.
here's skills you need as a human.
Right.
Let's figure out you as an individual, like what are you gonna be good at and
Yeah.
what are you leaning towards, and let's help you get out of high school and be like, oh, I'm ready to go do this thing that I like and I'm good at, instead
Right.
of like everybody taking these same tests and you take these classes. And
Yeah. So you and your brother went to a Montessori school, which is supposed to be really about that, the freedom to learn the
it
thing
definitely
that
was to a
it,
degree.
to a certain degree,
Yeah.
because those teachers, those poor teachers, are still stuck with the standardized tests, so they have to teach you certain things so that you could pass those tests. But yeah, it was supposed to have more freedom so you could follow the child and the child's interests.
Yeah.
So you benefited a little bit from that, but it's still not true Montessori. If it was true Montessori, you wouldn't even have a report card, because we're not following, we're not supposed to be at a 65 or a 75 or an 85. It's whatever you're strong at, you're strong at. Whatever you're weak at, you're weak at. And we work at both.
Well, there's that idea of the multiple intelligences, which like talks about just like different people are good at different things. Essentially, you know, I
Mm.
think there's like 13 or something,
Mm.
and you know, like there's the people that are really good with numbers. There's people who are really good at like reading and reading comprehension, or the sciences, or the maths, and like most people are bad at things. You know, like everybody's bad at some like at things, like
Yeah.
and doesn't click with them, but then they're really good at this other thing. So it's kind of like, why are you forcing them to do this thing they're
Right.
bad at, and it's not gonna help. They're never gonna go back to it. Like I'm never gonna go back to chemistry. I didn't care about it when I was taking it. Like it had nothing to do with anything I wanted to be doing. I was just memorizing the information so I could sit and I could take that test, and then they could say, okay, you passed, and now you get to move on to the next
Right.
thing.
Right.
You know, like it's definitely interesting, and I was kind of curious to see if this year kind of just disrupted it a little bit. You know,
Mm.
like we have to figure out other things now. And now you have to know the kid a little bit more individually because you have to reach out to them and see how they're doing because they're home,
Right. Right.
kind of thing. You know, like
Right. It might be an opportunity.
it might be.
It might be an opportunity to really get down to what is actually needed for a child to grow and succeed.
Yeah.
But I used to do workshops like that, talking about the different skills. I used to do workshops at the state level, at different conventions and different things like that about, I'm a big picture person. I'm good running lots of things. I'm good multitasking, but I really stink at sitting down and writing the reports or the thank you letters or the follow up details, updating the Excel sheet later. Ugh, I stink at that. So you always need people to balance off what your skill set is.
Yeah. It's like doubling, no, and being like really self-aware, just doubling down what you're really good at and finding the people around you to help you with all the stuff you're not good at.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. But some people see that as a threat. Like, she's really good at the money and she's good at this
Yeah.
and she's good at that. And no, thank you. Thank you for being really good at that.
yeah, no, exactly. Like, I mean, look at this like setup we have. Like, I really don't know. Anytime there's an issue with any of this stuff, I'm like, AJ, what do I do? Even right before you got on here, I was like, dude, the camera's not working. I don't know what do I do now? You know, like
Right.
I'm not good at that part really, but like, but I can I'm good at the management and the organization part a little bit more. Like I kind of understand how to I don't know. And I'm good at the creative part.
Yeah.
But that's like, I guess, just like that self-awareness.
I'm not
that you're
creative,
talking.
but I feel like you and I are alike in a lot of different ways. But
Yeah,
I'm not as obviously as creative as you are.
I think no, we are 100%. I see it all the time. I think about that actually a lot. I think about like how I'm like you and how I'm like dad and like what like things I've pulled out of both of you and kind of like figured out. And I think about them like I think about just growing up and like what was said. Like I just remember like very specific thing. I remember specific like instances. Like I remember going to all the PTA meetings and going to all and like growing up and like watching this like. Is kind of like this mentality of the DIY, do it yourself. Like if you want something done, you do it, right? Like if you think that this should be happening, you do it.
Right.
If you want to do something, like if you want the skate park built, okay, you do it. Like you make it happen.
Right. I remember doing like those after school video game contests. Do you remember that? We had like Guitar Hero days.
Somewhat.
Yeah, I would set up like 3 or 4 TVs with all of your different systems. And I would have like Guitar Hero days for all the kids. But I just remember thinking, this is a good idea. Kids have fun with this. Let's just go do it. And then I would just get it done. And then the same thing, I had We Fit Wednesdays for the teachers. And those were fun.
I kind of remember that, yeah.
But yeah, I used to just say, this is a good idea. Or I'd read something in a catalog and say, that looks like fun. Muffins with Mom, donuts with Dad. And just do it.
Yeah, I mean, and you definitely put me onto that. Like you put me onto the like, just do it. Like if you want something done, you just kind of go for it, and you see how it pans out. And then if it doesn't pan out the way you want it to, that's fine. You just move on to the next thing.
And then I still do that in my job now. I'm like, okay, this sounds like a good idea. That sounds like a great event. Okay, let's. I'm just very much like a yes person. Yes, and then if it's a no later on because of some reason, then fine. But initially, I like to say yes. Let's do it. Yeah, sounds great.
Do you ever find that you say yes to too many things?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I do because then I could, like I said, I'm good at like running the events and the stuff, but then I could be running all of these events and the other stuff isn't getting done, and then I'm pressured to get this done, or something happens like a major catastrophe in the city will happen, and now it's just sometimes I do a little bit too much.
I do the same thing.
I take on a little bit too much.
I constantly do that, and then I'm really anxious about it because I'm also just really bad at saying no, and I'm really bad at saying when I don't want to do something. I feel bad saying I don't want to do it.
Yeah, me too.
Even the small things like I don't know, even the small things like, hey, you want to come hang out, and I'm just like, I don't feel like it right now. But I'm still, yeah. Like I don't, just like the small things in life. I'm still like, it's hard to say no.
I get into any conference call or any brainstorming session with anything, and it's really hard for me to zip my mouth and not offer to do some small thing for that event. I just have to like sometimes sit back and just say, Kelly, try not to do anything for this one.
Yeah. So. I've definitely been better at it this past couple months. Actually, I've been trying to get better at saying no.
Yeah.
Because you can't. Once you say it, I realize that my highest stress situations are from saying yes to everything.
Yeah, and I think you've probably even noticed that lately. I've been even talking to you about balancing, and making sure that you're finding time for fun and for your girlfriend and for other things besides work. And you said to me very clearly, but Mom, work is fun. Music is fun. And I was like, okay, I get that, but I just want you to find balance, because I think I'm finding balance now. At a certain time of day, work is cut off from me, and I'm not doing the nighttime stuff as much, and I balance in a little bit of AA and a little bit of my friends and a little bit of this, and I'm definitely doing a lot better in the last few years.
How do you feel about, like, how do you feel like your brain operates? Because for me, it's really difficult to do that. And it's difficult to do that because I can't shut it off. There's no shutting, like there's like almost no possibility of shutting it off. As much as I've tried to like meditate and yoga. I've tried, like there's no possibility. Even the only time I kind of felt leveled out was when I very briefly tried taking the ADHD medication. But the side effect to that was that it made me feel sick. So I stopped taking that because I was like, I don't want to feel nauseous every day.
Mm.
But there's no, I don't know. I wonder about that because like I think about that when I talk to Dad sometimes. I don't know if he's watching because I wonder if my brain, like he's the kind of guy, not to put him on the spot here, but he's the kind of guy, and you probably know this, that he'll call you and you have a conversation with him, and then you hang up, and then he calls you back because he forgot to tell you the thing, and I'm that kind of guy too because like my brain is like going
Right.
200 always, like even during the day when I'm here, like I get a lot done. I'm very productive, but I can only stay on tasks for very short amounts of time before I have to move to the next thing and then go back to the thing.
Right.
Because there's no way. So I don't know. Do you feel like your brain works that way, or?
I definitely can be scrambled. So there's all of this stuff out there about how to work from home right now, right? But you've been working from home. Your work has always been here, but there's a way to structure your time at home and sit and shut off work and then, put the phone away completely, which you're getting much better at. Put the phone away completely and open up a book and, open up the windows and just move away from this thing and become, okay, this is my relaxing time, or this is my girlfriend time, or this is my eating time. And, that's something that you've got to work out here because, yeah, home is work to you. And so you've been doing this for a long time. You've got to figure out how to compartmentalize those.
Yeah.
For me, so I wake up in the morning and I have a couple of minutes in the morning, quiet time, kind of like meditating, listen to some meditation music with my tea or my coffee. When I get to work, the stuff comes at me. And lately it's been insane. It's been since March, honestly, since the beginning of COVID, it's been really just the first month. I won't even get into COVID yet. But anyway, my process is, okay, I've already started my day, hopefully a little quiet. I try my best to get that couple of minutes before I leave the house. And then when I get to work, I write meditate. I have a long white piece of paper, a long white notebook. And I write meditate, and then I write email, mail, calendar, and then I write staff time off. And then I write what's on my calendar for the day that I have to get done, and then all the other stuff. And it's usually a nice long list. And I write it in blue every day, and then I cross it off in red. So meditate, I don't really meditate at work, but I have a little meditation book. I read the page, and that's it. And then I cross it off the list. And then email will dictate a lot of what's going to happen in the day. So I'll do that and I'll cross it off. And then as I get things done, I cross it off. And then as stuff comes at me, I'll throw that on the list and then I'll cross it off. Because then at the end of the day, I have this picture of stuff that I've gotten done and accomplished. And I'll also know what I didn't accomplish and it'll go on the list for the next day. But it's my process. If I didn't have the list, you're right, I'd be all over the place because
I think that's what I gotta do.
And it can't be like on Post-its all over. Like I've done a lot of organizational kind of workshops because of this. Because yeah, I have all of this detail work to do, but then, this homeless woman, a tree just hit this woman's house and she's going to be homeless, or this building blows up, or there's no electricity, or there's an elevator out, or, like all these different things that come at me during the day, people that don't answer for their meals and all of the stuff. So that will go on my list just so I have a picture, but then I could go back to the detail and try to get, what's needed done for that day.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what I think I maybe do have to start making like physical lists. I do it on my phone sometimes, but maybe
it has to be up one place all the time, one kind of thing. Like it can't be your phone one day and then a pad the next day.
Yeah.
It has to be, you have to have a system. This is your system and this is how you're going to do it.
Yeah, I think I gotta do that maybe because it's definitely very difficult for me to stay on any task for more than a little while.
And it's important. I mean, that meditation at the beginning, it's like 3 minutes maybe that I read a book, but it's the 3 minutes that I kind of take a breath, look at my list that I've just written and go, okay, this is the beginning. Check, check, check. And I get to check things off as I go.
I kind of been doing that, I guess, with bike riding recently.
Mm.
I just go out and do the bike ride and I put on a podcast usually. And that has been kind of like how I start the day usually. I usually wake up, have a cup of coffee, go on a bike ride, come back, and then I do the things I got to do.
Yeah.
But because I think the other issue with it, and this might be the creative part of me that's maybe differs a little bit, is that I always think about new things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Before I finished the old, like, but before I finished this one thing, I thought of 3 more already. Because I'm like, oh, that'd be a cool idea. And then it comes into my, and then like there's a never ending list. It's never, I've settled on the fact that it'll never end. I understand that it's never going to end. It's how it'll always be. But it's also a big reason why working a job where I just sit around all day is really bad for me. Because it's like, it's like terrible for my mental health because I'm just sitting there thinking about all the things I actually want to be doing or I really want to be. I'm just like, well, I'm just wasting my time here, for whatever, for money.
Right. Well, I'm lucky that I like doing my job, and I have that constant list too. It's never, ever, ever going to end. And if there ever comes a lull, I get to create another event. Oh, I'm going to have a caregiver for him. Oh, I'm going to do this, and I create another event. But but at least I'm monetizing.
You're monetizing, because you say you work from home, but like I don't make money doing this stuff yet. At least like it's just like a constant. Well, I'm gonna keep doing this, and hopefully I'll just figure that one out along the way. But it definitely, as I grow older, I realize that I don't know that I'm ever really meant to work for somebody. Or I don't know. At least not right now. It's not what I feel like is my path. Unless I find something that I can always be thinking and be creative doing, I don't think that it's ever going to be something I'm happy doing.
Right.
So I like the idea of working in a school. I like the idea of starting a school better.
Right.
Like I like the idea of like I'm gonna do my own thing. Like I'm gonna be in control of it, and I'm gonna make it, do it.
I can see you doing that.
Right, yeah.
A school or a venue or an art space or, like all of the different things that we've discussed.
Yeah, that seems to be more as I get older. I'm like, I think that's where life is probably gonna go. Who knows? I don't know. Just keep doing things for now. It never stops. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about. You want to talk about your job now?
Sure.
What do you do? I mean, I know what you do, but what's your title?
Director actually my official title is Assistant to the Mayor for Constituent Services, but my title is also Director for Yonkers Office for the Aging.
Right.
Which is, people don't even know that we exist. A lot of people don't know that we exist. We're a small department in the city. We're not like DPW, police, or fire. But we're important. We're really, and especially during these times, we're majorly important. So I've got about 45 people that work for me. I have 4 different locations. I have 12 vans. I deliver about 80,000 meals a year. So do case management and home health aides and information and transportation and a lot of different services for seniors.
Which is a crazy, as you said before, it's a crazy thing to be dealing with right now. Because, I mean, in reality, most jobs are crazy right now, right? Right, like pretty much every job, no matter what you're doing right now, is crazy, right?
Right. You're right.
I guess really like anything.
If you're working, it's crazy.
If you're working, it's crazy, and if you're not working because it got crazy. It's like what? Right. Things got disrupted, but that's definitely an intense thing. How are the so dealing with seniors every day, because they don't a lot of them I would assume are just very anxious.
Yes.
Because they're the highest to be at risk for what's happening in this world right now.
And they were told that over and over and over again, that they're the ones that are in jeopardy. So we closed down our centers on March 16th. And actually, I just reopened one of mine not too long ago. So they're not running back to me. I've got a certain number of people, probably about 20 to 25 people that are coming back to the center. But that's out of hundreds. They're just not coming back. They're still afraid to be in groups. I'm doing indoor, so they're still afraid. But we made it work. The county worked with us. The state worked with us, and so we were able to, during the COVID period from March 16th to June 30th, that window, serve 37,000 home delivered meals.
Yeah.
And then about 15 to 16,000 of the pantry bags that you probably saw. Well, because you went to Feeding Westchester with me one day to help
Yep.
me. Yeah, so that was a whole separate thing that we never did before, but we saw that there was a gap. I have my home delivered meals. We serve. It's for it's for people that aren't on Medicaid, because when you're on Medicaid, you can get other services, and you could get your meals through Medicaid, through managed long-term care services. So, but I realized that a lot of those Medicaid people didn't have, they couldn't get my home delivered meals. I couldn't even do it if I wanted to, because I didn't have enough money in my grants budget. And then there was just so many people that didn't have managed long-term cares, and didn't have home health aides, and didn't have the ability to, they shouldn't be going into supermarkets. So we started that pantry delivery, which we use the National Guard and the firemen for. So, we're closer to probably 20,000 bags right now. It's slowing down right now.
So, because now the centers are open, they can come get their meal at the center. Is that how that works now?
So when I closed down the centers March 16th, we automatically switched all of those people that were coming to the centers to home delivered meals.
Right.
So that was one thing. Like, we went from doing 800 meals a week to 2,200 meals a week in a blink.
I remember that.
Yeah, we kind of doubled what we were doing, because we were serving all of our clients at home, and then we had all these people calling, and we added and we added and we added. We added as much as we could, and until we were maximized. I'm really lucky that my drivers and my escorts didn't leave, and just bail out and say, I don't want to do this. I'm going to stay home and be on unemployment, because we would have been in a lot of trouble. We wouldn't have been able to do what we did. I'm really lucky that I've got a great staff that stuck around.
Yeah. And then those are the I think those are the essential workers some people don't think about,
They truly, as we go for another round of unemployment benefits, that it really would benefit my people to get hazard pay, because they worked through COVID not making an enormous amount of money.
Yeah,
and some of them are senior
should.
citizens, some seniors themselves. So
Yeah, I mean, everybody should be getting that, no matter what. But that's another talk, and that doesn't really we have no bearing in that.
You're
like
right.
we can't
right.
do anything about it.
You're
Unfortunately,
absolutely
I
right.
think everybody that's working at McDonald's should be getting hazard pay. But it's unfortunate that that's probably not gonna happen.
You're right. Right.
All right. Cool. Well. All right. So we're about a little over an hour. We've been chatting. I think so. I told you the podcast is essentially about, it's called Be Yourself, Do It Yourself, right? So it's the idea of DIY culture, right? Which I think is being expanded now. Like, for a long time when people said DIY, it was like the idea of like punk rock DIY. You go out in a van, play shows, you book shows, right? And like now when I see DIY, you can see DIY on the internet. It's within everything. It's DIY, handcrafting, DIY.
Right.
But I think the DIY just represents it, like it embodies just people that are like going out and just doing a thing that they want to do, and doing it because they want to. And I think that I was very fortunate enough to grow up watching you do that, and like knowing, obviously, like that was the first time we had, I guess, like kind of a deep conversation about, or more deep conversation about your upbringing. But obviously, I knew where you came from, and I knew that you kind of, life could have taken a very different turn, probably,
It's
right?
true.
And it didn't.
It didn't. No.
And you figured it out, and not only did you figure it out, but like you're the epitome of someone that like didn't take the regular route of going to college and going and getting a job, but you still ended up doing things and having a job that you like and makes you happy, and you did that through just doing a thing.
Yeah. Anything that I felt like was good, that it was a good idea, that it was going to be good for any large group of people, including Relay for Life, which I've been running for how many years?
We didn't even talk about that. I didn't even think of that.
Again, that was just a great event. It was a large event that I thought was really good for the community, and we had a personal connection with, Grandma B passing away from cancer, and I just took it, and I continue to do that. Yeah, anything that adds value. It goes back to, if you want self-esteem, you do esteemable things, things that make me feel good about me, and because they're helping other people, because I like to help other people. Even in my work now, I take an extra step with some of the people. Like some of my case managers, first of all, they have like 100 people to one. You know, their caseloads are incredible, so they couldn't do what I do. But sometimes I take on those heavier cases, and I will pick up the homeless lady and take her to Social Security and sit with her there because she can't navigate that, you know, because mentally she can't handle doing all of this. So sometimes I take those extra steps because they make me feel good about me. Because when I get to the end of the day and I actually put that person into a house, I feel amazing that I've been able to help somebody like to that degree. And
Yeah.
so you want self-esteem, you do esteemable things, and that doesn't really ever stop, you know?
No, I agree. Yeah, and I think that I picked that up from you in a lot of ways. Like I've always just liked doing things because I like to do them, but then recognizing that there's like a bigger community involved in doing them,
Right.
right? And like,
This whole 914 collective thing is just, you know, it's amazing. It's a connection of, it's connecting people. And that's kind of what I do in my work. And, you know, people come to me for all kinds of things now. They'll come to me for, somebody came to me this week for food trucks. Somebody comes to me for a school, you know, school reopening. Somebody comes to me for health information. They come to me for all different things because I've worn all these different hats and done all these different things. That's, you're the same. You know, people come to you now for the podcasts and for screen printing and for lessons and for, you know, putting all the shows together, all the stuff.
yeah, and I think that for anybody listening, I think it just comes out of like, if you want to try something, if you want to do something, like just do it. You know, like, there's obviously there's limitations to certain things maybe, and there you can be held back by like, oh, I can't make this happen right now. But I think that the reality is, if you really want to make something happen, you can make it happen. If you just kind of work towards it. It could be definitely more difficult for some people. It could be like you could be starting in a harder place to get something to happen, but like, I don't know. It's just the idea of just like, if there's something out there that you want, like just go, just do it.
Yeah, say yes first.
Say yes.
Say yes first, and then figure out the steps to get it done.
Right, yeah. Say yes and then figure out. Yeah, exactly. Say yes and then be like, okay, now how?
Right.
Like, because I don't. Yeah, that's how, and that's kind of how I've always looked at things, and I feel like that I picked that up probably a lot from just you and watching you what you do.
Cool.
Cool. It's been a little bit quiet tonight, which is fine, which is cool. Is there anything else you wanted to hit? Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? We talked about your whole upbringing. We talked about. You know what? Look, one more thing.
Hit me.
What do you see for the future, or is there a thing that you see for the future? Like,
Yeah, so I'm, you know.
how far out do you think?
Well,
like-
so this was an interesting year. I had open heart surgery. I fractured
Right.
my knee. You know, we had COVID. Like, who knows what the future holds?
We never do.
We don't. We don't know what tomorrow holds. You really just don't know.
No, you don't.
And I've learned that.
This year has been a wild awakening, I think, to that.
Right.
That like you just gotta be grateful with every day that you got, because
Right.
you just don't know what's next.
Right.
But I'm assuming that you're at least you're forward thinking to a degree of like where's how far out are you thinking, like where you know.
Yeah, I don't think deeply about it because, like you said, we don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, I think about the next apartment or the next trip or the next, I'm moving towards retirement, and I've got those plans. Just how do I get to retirement with a certain amount of money? Those kinds of plans.
Is there a retirement though?
So for me, I would have a really hard time being at home doing nothing.
That's what I'm kind of wondering. Like, is there is there a time where you're like, all right, I'm retired now? You know, like,
Yeah.
I don't like. Is that I just don't see that for you.
I'd be involved in something. I'd either be consulting, or I'd be volunteering, or I'd work for a nonprofit part time, or I don't see myself sitting home doing nothing.
No, I don't see that either. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's kind of why I'm wondering, because I don't know. You talk about things sometimes, like you're like, oh, I'm gonna open a coffee shop. And I'm like,
Yeah, so we talk about we're talking about a hot dog place. I was
yeah,
in
it's
Virginia.
a hot dog place.
Yeah, hot dogs. We're gonna do fancy hot dogs. Or how about so we joined Freedom Boat Club, and so we're learning how to boat right now.
Okay.
Which actually you reminded me of before because this morning we were able to take the boat and we learned how to beach it and anchor at the beach.
Yeah.
But we learned by watching a YouTube, and so this
A,
guy
a YouTube.
a YouTube.
Okay, boomer. Anyway, sorry.
Don't make fun of me.
I don't
So,
even think
but
you're.
that's
I don't
how-
think you're a boomer either. I don't think you're actually the generation below boomers.
But that's how we learned. And somebody on the beach had said, oh, how long you been boating? And we were like, yeah, no, this is the first time we've ever done this. We were really proud that we got to do this. But anyway, I don't even know where I was going with that. You threw me off with the whole boomer thing.
It's gonna be a good clip though. It's gonna be like a good little like tidbit there. Oh, YouTube. Here, we'll put this on the YouTube.
But yeah, no, I definitely don't see myself sitting home completely. I'll be volunteering. But, just like your grandma. I grew up watching your grandma be involved in the community, run a nonprofit, be involved in politics. She had me and your uncle having people sign petitions. And she coached softball. I coached softball with her. It was one of those things that she tried to do to keep me out of trouble. I grew up watching that. Now you've grown up watching this. But she doesn't sit home. She takes classes and she's got all these hobbies and she's out with her friends and she does volunteer driving and she's not one to sit still until you have to, until you can't anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope I never become that person.
I was gonna say, yeah. I don't think. I don't see that.
Yeah.
Do you think that you'll? I guess this is a nah. Do you think that you'll live in New York?
I don't know.
Is it like, because I know you've kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So we travel a lot.
Because you've lived
now.
here forever.
Right.
Like literally never left the city of Yonkers. Have you ever lived outside of the city of Yonkers?
No.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
No. So
Like even technically I have. Right?
yeah,
Like,
because you were in Manhattanville.
yeah, I lived in Purchase for
Right.
like you've never
I've
lived.
never lived out of Yonkers. No.
Yeah, you've always lived in Yonkers.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I love Costa Rica, but I don't know if I would do that like as a full time. I might do that as a half year kind of thing. If that was where we, everywhere we go, we're kind of like, ooh, this is nice. This is nice. We
Change
were
of
just
scenery,
in
yeah.
Alexandria, Virginia, Old Town.
Yeah.
Loved it. It's on a river. It's very, it's similar to Yonkers, except it's got marinas and nice restaurants, and it's right across from D.C. So you're right next to a big city. We talk a lot. I talk a lot about how far I would go from you guys. I don't want to go so far away from you or if I go far away from you, I want to at least have the money to be able to fly you to me as often as I want, and vice versa, or me come to you. Because, if I was to go away, I would have to be able to have that kind of a lifestyle where I could come and see you whenever I wanted.
Yeah, no, I feel that. It would be interesting. It'd be weird.
It would be.
I've been to a lot of cities. I haven't spent a lot of time in a lot of cities, but I've been to enough cities where I've actually never found a place that I was like, I'd move here. I've never found that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
this location is just, you're right next to a big city. You're right next to great hiking. You're close to like lots and lots and lots of different things. So
yeah, and it's just
it's
I think
unique.
it's also just the New York like vibe.
Yeah.
I feel like once you're like kind of entrenched in New York culture, it's kind of weird to go anywhere else.
That's true.
I almost feel like you people know when you're a New Yorker,
right.
or they just know something's different.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
It's like I don't know. It's just a weird.
Wherever I go, I can't imagine not being in a place that offers me a lot to do, or offers me diversity or offers me challenges. So like I don't know. Like you talk about Costa Rica, but I couldn't do that all year long.
Yeah, I think yeah, I could see that. It's like it's a nice place to visit, and it's nice. But that's the thing is like I've been to a lot of cities where I'm like, oh, this is a cool city.
Loved Barcelona.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Barcelona was amazing, but that's really far away from you guys. So, don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely
It doesn't have to happen. It's not happening right now. I love my job. I love my life. I love my apartment. Everything's good.
Yeah.
Traveling.
It's like
having fun.
it's a live in the moment kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For now, I'm okay.
All right. Yeah. Cool.
I'll let you know if I'm packing my bags to go someplace.
Yeah, I figured you'd let me know. It won't be a day of. By the way, I'm going to Barcelona
Well,
tomorrow.
We couldn't do the big trips this year, so that's why we got the boat thing going. So we still managed to go have some fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. I mean, we thanks for being on. Thanks for chatting. Thanks for talking.
This was cool.
Yeah, thanks.
This was like therapy.
Remember the therapy? Yeah. Remember what this like used to be? Like this garage, and now it's like we got a little room in here.
Yeah, it is weird. I didn't know if I should mention it, but it is weird that I'm in my garage and it's now not like a garage. It never was a garage, but
no,
it's not a storage room anymore.
Yeah, it's like a half storage room, half this room or whatever this is now. But when you said like, oh, can Val come and watch? I was like, yeah, of course. But like now you kind of see like there's we're like when AJ and I play in here, like there's no, like when we had Blas, he was in that room, and we had another camera because there was no putting look at the camera angle. Like there's no putting a third. Where would you put them? Like, are they gonna stand in the middle or something? Like, but yeah, no, it's definitely it's transformed. I was
There's water. People should know that water comes through that, and there was a window back there.
Yep, they put a wall up on this back. It was just a brick.
The fact that you could build walls is an amazing thing.
Me?
That comes from, you know what that comes from? All those art projects I did with you growing up. I helped you create things.
You know what?
I'll take credit for everything.
No, it does come from. It comes from the DIY mentality. And it also comes from, like, when you the idea of, like we said before, when you want to get something done, you just do it.
Right.
No matter what, you say yes and then you figure out the steps. Right. And I remember the first thing I did to get this wall built was hit someone up about doing it. Right? It was like, can I get someone to do this? And then it was like $1,500. And I was like, I don't have $1,500.
Right. So you watched a YouTube.
Yeah. So I watched a YouTube. And I got as many done as possible. No, it's just like, it took me forever to get all this done. And I hurt myself multiple times. And, but when you want to get something done, just do it. I learned that from my mom.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I learned that from my mom. You just do it. We got a couple people saying hello. Casey said it's the best chat yet.
Aw, hi Casey, love you.
Thanks for clipping that, Anthony. Appreciate you, dude. I think he clipped it for me the YouTube. I think he clipped it already for me.
Thanks for that.
That's my friend Anthony. He lives in I think he lives in the Netherlands.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for doing this, Mom.
Yeah, no. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for thinking it's not uncool to have your mom on it.
No, you were on the list. You were on the list of people. I
Cool.
I made a list of the people that I think I want, and the people I thought I wanted to have within the first 10 people. And you and Dad are both on that first 10 people list.
Awesome.
And you're number 6.
Thanks.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Very proud of you, honey.
Proud of you. Love you.